This week's Extra Life on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by EXA. EXA brings the latest technology to gamers, offering the most immersive products for the ultimate gaming experience. They've compiled the best elements of cutting-edge ENC tech, the latest in Bluetooth 5.0 and 7.1 surround, plus extra features into their headsets so everyone can enjoy a sensational gaming experience. And they've got headsets for Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC. Plus, they won't break the bank. Learn more about the headsets that are available and any current promotions by going to f5live.tv/exa. To tie back to the last topic for a second, for example, I wonder if there's keyboard shortcuts for me to make adjustments to our position on the screen. Anyway, last week, not this past week, but the week before, Microsoft announced layoffs in their gaming division. This was mostly expected, probably inevitable. They made a big purchase. The Activision Blizzard acquisition was completed. There's always going to be redundancies. There's going to be duplicates. So some was expected. 1,900 was, I think, more than most people expected to see. And, Microsoft, for their part, did say, the point was to deal with dupes. Makes sense. However, as it turns out, the Activision Blizzard eSports division seems to have been wiped off the face of the earth. If not everybody, most everybody. If you go check LinkedIn profiles and Twitter accounts or X accounts, you will see those people talking about no longer being with the company. And if you know anything about Microsoft and their gaming division, they don't really have their own version. So this wasn't a duplicate. This was just a full-on purge of the division. Been a lot of talk about why. We are in what is being called by many an esports winter. There are lots of problems in the industry. Viewership, particularly on the ActiBliz products, is down. Player count is down. Team count is down. They've really struggled. But it's kind of that way across the industry. Being in the industry, I can tell you, finding money is hard. Finding support is hard right now. And a lot of it comes down to some pretty massive mishandling and probably misunderstanding of the industry from ActiBliz and this particular team. One of our former co-hosts from many years ago, Adam, has been involved in the esports industry since before the term was involved, and he has long complained about ActiBliz's consistent mishandling of the industry, of sponsors, of teams, of owners, of players, of events, and that they had almost single-handedly driven what is now an esports winter. And so it's possible that this purge was because Microsoft's like, nope, if we're going to do this, we're going to start from zero. I don't know. It's definitely interesting in a purge that was supposed to be of dupes to essentially nix a division that doesn't have an equivalent. It's a big decision.
So it's been a really bloody couple of weeks in the whole tech industry. So while obviously jobs report for January showed a lot of jobs being created, but in the tech sector and in the media sector, not so good.
Gaming
but
in particular.
I was really, Yes, but I mean, like a lot of my colleagues at
Yeah.
other publications, uh, you know, have experienced layoffs. And, you know, like you see it happen at, I think, Washington Post and Wall Street Journal, and I think Business Insider and
The
um,
LA Times, uh,
LA
like
Times.
one floor
So
of the building is empty now or something. Like
I
they
think like Geo. Uh, so like there's
Sports
just been
Illustrated.
a ton.
Sports Illustrated is almost entirely out of business.
Right. Well, yeah. So it's been a disaster, and but all I can think about with it is the story that I just saw on NPR called uh, that explains layoffs as contagious.
Mm-hmm.
So it's unfortunately kind of one of the problems with I don't know, having, I would say that it's a problem with being a public company, but I think private companies that have, you know, private equity or whatever doing the
Mm-hmm.
same thing, which is they have a board, they have investors. Investors, I don't know, they're not, you know, I don't know, whatever. They like to see people get laid off, not really thinking about the human cost or even the future of the business cost of layoffs. And so, oh hey, Microsoft laid people off. Well, how many are you going to lay off? Oh hey, your
Mm-hmm.
competitor over here laid people off. How many are you going to lay off?
Yeah.
Right now,
Yeah. It always
you
works
would
that way.
think that there's something there's you would think that um, you know, people wouldn't reward something that's a clear sign of, like, you know, contraction in your business.
Yeah.
Um, Unfortunately, what happens a lot is, you know, that things are people aren't taking a long term or even a near midterm view of business operations. Like, oh, well, if we have products that are out there in the market or whatever, and we lay people off, the problem is very often, I wouldn't say always, but very often with layoffs, the problems that it causes aren't apparent to the bottom line and the public for for a little
Yeah.
while,
Yeah.
right? So I mean, the problem
It's
it causes to people
delayed.
within the company is immediate, but like, you know, if you know, like for example, if you're an entertainment company and you lay off a whole bunch of people whose job it was to, you know, make, I don't know, movies for Netflix or whatever, but they've got like 6 months of new movies in the can.
Right.
Well, like, you know, like, or with the with like the writer strike, actor strike, right? Like people didn't really, you know, I think we're going, like, when it was going on, you didn't see as much damage from it as you're going to see
Right.
as the things follow the pipeline. And so, unfortunately, what happens is, especially, you know, games with job, you know, games or whatever. Oh, we don't need all these people.
Mm-hmm.
We can have more profit this quarter by offloading those salaries. What
Right.
what they what unfortunately they never look at is, once you take things away, it's not so easy to bring them back, right? It's not so easy to be like, oh hey, we got rid of this whole division of people, and we realize that we can't actually perform that function well anymore. What are we going to do? Like, unfortunately, people are not like, you know, machines, and you're like, oh, sorry, I didn't need this. You know, I didn't need to order this much stuff. So this quarter, I lowered the amount of beans that I ordered for my,
Right.
you know, for my company. Like, no, like, once you get rid of people, it's hard to bring them back.
Yeah.
Uh, so
Especially, especially when a fear of another round exists, right? Because
yeah,
even
that
if
also,
you wipe out 1,900 people, you close a studio, you cancel a game, all happened, right? The layoffs, by the way, weren't entirely at ActiBliz. ZeniMax took some, and Xbox internal took some too. Again, it was a reshuffling thing. But once they're gone, if you then start hiring, people look at the job listing and go, well, that's a trap. Because what if a second round comes, new guy, last in, first out.
Yeah. I mean, it's all bad. And then people who are there are probably thinking like, well, should I be putting out the resume to get a new job? On the other hand, if everybody in the industry is laying people off, it's not quite, where's the grass going to be greener?
Right.
If it's, depending on what type of industry you're in. Now, if you're, I was reading this thing about Google programmers, and Google is just laying people off left and right, even though they're making a ton of money, right? Again, they're playing this for the investors. Like, look, we can save money by getting rid of these people. Great. But
Great.
people who are developers for Google. I mean, I was reading some things about where like, oh, nobody's innovating here anymore because everybody knows they're going to be laid off, so they're not putting the extra time in.
Fair
but
enough.
It's not to their advantage. It's not to their advantage to quit, because some of them have things where like, oh yeah, some of them have employment contracts or something that say, hey, if you quit, you lose these benefits, but if we fire you, then you get them. So, so they're hanging around, but they're not motivated.
I have a friend who worked for a small tech company, small in terms of company, employee size, but a very large tech company. And he was unhappy with the direction of the company. He was unhappy with, the technical oversight and things like that. But his stocks vested at a certain point.
Right.
And so he stuck around. Fortunately for him, the company ended up getting purchased and things got better under the new owners, and he's still there and his stock is long vested and things are good. But, it's one of those things, right? There's all these things, if you're getting any stock options, they may not vest for a period of time. So walking away now, they are completely worthless, but they might mature if you get downsized. All right, well, let's sit around and see what happens.
Yeah. So, I mean, anyway, it's not good. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible for it's terrible for the industry. It's terrible for the consumers. It's terrible for everybody. They're just doing some of these things. Perhaps they didn't need anymore, but frankly, we don't know that. There's just a good chance that they're just trying to hit a certain amount of money that they're saving, so that they can report something better to Wall Street, so their stock can go up, so the people who run it can get, and the big investors in the board can make a little bit more profit, a little on their investment, without thinking about what it's going to be like a year from now, and how they're hurting the business.
In terms of the team behind the eSports org, though, I think that was probably planned before they completed the merger, because of what a problem this particular group of people has been. Now, I don't know if the people themselves are a problem. There's a whole series of issues. The industry of esports has issues of sexual harassment and all kinds of things. And then Actiblizz has its own issues in that space. Plus, everything that this group produced, to quote our friend Eric Sweeney from earlier, hot garbage, right? Every event, everything that this group touched hurt the industry. So I suspect that this group, that of the 1,900, this was a very small, portion of it. Probably 50 or less of the 1,900 that were let go were from this group. But this group was wiped out. Like,
I mean, they didn't have to
control A, delete. Like this section was wiped out, and I suspect it was planned by Microsoft before they finished the acquisition because of, you know, the issues from within this division. If they want to be in esports, Microsoft, these people were, this team, some of the people maybe, I don't know that everybody is a problem, but this team was not the way to do it. My brother does not get mad at people he doesn't know very often, but he has a particular level of disdain for this group. I sent him the article before I published it just to make sure that I had gotten everything right, and he's like, I think you might have gone too soft on them. So.
Well, you know what? Yes, they had created a negative perception, but they're just a small amount of the people who were laid off. So, I mean, if they just wanted to target that group, they would have just targeted that group. Right?
Yeah, for sure. I think they hid this in a larger thing so people didn't go, because I think they were hoping that we wouldn't notice this, right? But we did. So, you know, I think they just wrapped it up in, you know, announcing we're doing 1,900 layoffs, and they were kind of hoping to get under the radar with this one, but they didn't. And the response that I've seen on this group seems to be positive. Like, I haven't seen anybody from outside Active Blizz go, oh, but they were doing such a great job.
Yeah.
That has been nobody's reaction. So I guess the takeaway is I look forward to seeing, because, you know, they have Microsoft now owns 2 brands that have a large presence in esports, right? Overwatch and Call of Duty, and they just wiped out the division that ran those leagues. So I'm interested to see what the next generation of this looks like. If they're going to contract with professionals who know what they're doing, if they're going to try and build something themselves, because they have other games that they could bring into the esports world that they have never tried. They could go the Nintendo route and partner with a company to be in charge. They could go the ActiBliz route and have their own internal team. I look forward to seeing how they deal with the next generation of this, because there's no way these 2 games disappear from esports. Somebody's going to take the lead, and under Microsoft, either under Microsoft's tutelage or just totally separate, like what had happened with, say, Smash up until recently. So be interesting to see what happens next. Obviously, we will keep people updated. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of F5 Live Refreshing Technology. If you did, please subscribe to the channel down below, and of course hit the notification bell, because we know that subscriptions don't mean much on YouTube anymore. If you've got topics that you'd like us to talk about in the future, please comment them down below. And if you'd like to not follow us on YouTube, there's lots of ways that you can follow along with our content by going to PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all of the ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along.